What is your go-to song for a good cry?
It's funny you should ask. I wanted to cry the other day. I am unfortunately like Cameron Diaz in The Holiday, and tears do not come easily to me.
No way. But you know what does come easily for Kate Bassett? It's communication.
You know, a lot of people would argue that communications is about performance. Really, it's translation. It's taking something abstract or technical, like in my case, climate data or investment strategy, and then translating into something that feels really human and real.
As the VP of Marketing and Communication at Galvanize, Kate takes complicated and sometimes depressing climate science and translates it to make it more accessible, more practical, and more inspiring. So let's see what that takes and what actually does make Kate cry in this episode of Impact After Hours. I'm Camila Renta, and this is Impact After Hours, a show about pursuing a life of impact on and off the clock. Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Mio, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are, I would say, one of a handful of people that I've met in this profession, or in this business, in our world as social impact communication professionals. You're the first of a handful of people to say that communications is storytelling. So I want to sit here for a little bit because I am curious to what you might say to someone who is challenging you a little bit when they say, oh, you know, communications is just sending an email, or it's just PR, or it's just this and that. Like, what would you usually say to that?
I think it's empathy. I think it starts with really tuning into what your audience is feeling, not just what you want them to know. So, you know, a lot of people would argue that communications is about performance. Really, it's translation. It's taking something abstract or technical, like in my case, climate data or investment strategy, and then translating into something that feels really human and real. And I think that's where the real connection and success happens. So I think for people working in communications, I always like to say, you know, don't chase the perfect message. Chase the emotional truth. Sounds cheesy, but it's really not about getting every single fact across. And I've agonized about getting every single fact in a press release or a piece of copy or messaging, for instance. It's really about making someone care enough to remember one really great fact, the one piece that what you're saying that resonates with them. And so in energy transition work, in climate work, that's exactly how you build up trust. You help people see that progress is possible, that they have agency, and that their actions add up.
In your specific field, so climate storytelling, I know we're getting into the weeds right away, Kate. I promise you we will talk about fun stuff today. But this is, to us, it's been like such a core skill that we've been trying to really harness at Human Group Media. And I know that our clients and our partners are, it's like a continuous pursuit, if you will. But climate storytelling, since you ventured from financial to climate communications, what has that transition been like? And also, like, maybe one piece of advice. If someone were to enter this space, if our listeners have been interested, or, you know, do want to be a part of the solution, like maybe one thing you'd like to share with them on how to make it effective.
I would say, you know, since I've been in this space, the narrative has really shifted from sacrifice, a place of sacrifice when you're speaking to different audiences. It used to be there was this huge, you know, capital gap that investors needed to fill, and we needed to invest X amount to fuel the energy transition. Or for consumers, it was you really shouldn't be eating red meat. You shouldn't be drinking from a plastic straw. All of these narratives that we heard in the 2010s around sacrifice that I think really pushed a lot of people away from the climate movement. And now that narrative has shifted more towards pragmatism, towards possibility. I think we're now just sort of in this execution phase where people who work in energy and climate aren't waiting for permission anymore. We're just getting on with things, one sort of small improvement at a time. And it's a space that's now very much less defined by ideology and more so by execution. So that's been the biggest transition we've seen. To the latter half of your question, I would say, pragmatic optimism is kind of my North Star. And it's, to me, really the balance between seeing the world as it is and then still choosing to act. And so in climate and energy work, I think it's very easy to get pulled into either extreme, despair or denial. And for me, this sort of pragmatic optimism sits right in the middle. It's not blind hope. It's evidence-based hope. And it's saying, yes, this is hard, but we know it works and we know how to scale it.
I guess to me, as you were talking about pragmatic optimism, being in social impact, so obviously sustainability, climate change, they're all a part of our work. I have also learned to, of course, there are challenges with the mindset shift, but from like a place of scarcity to a place of where there's a bit more abundance. That is something that I've learned from working with activists too, and strategists in the space, because when the mindset is everything is doom and gloom, we are running out of everything, it's hard to feel encouraged, right? I mean, it's just a human emotion to be more distracted than be more focused.
I think people often forget that optimism it's not a mood. Optimism is really a muscle. You just got to work that muscle every day and train it to be that way.
Yeah. And speaking of which, you are a mom to a 10-month-old child, right? Like you are, I would say would you still consider yourself like a new mom? Okay. Yes. Okay, for sure. I just wanted to check. And optimism is also a mindset, right? Because I am now a mom to a 4.5-year-old, and the challenges just, it's a constant. And so
they change constantly.
Optimism is a tool now that we're speaking. I feel like it is a tool that I or maybe any other mom who's listening can sort of hold on to, because you don't know what the future holds, right? Like you have a 10-month-old son, you cannot predict the entirety of his journey in this earth. Is there, in terms of like storytelling, and I know that's a key activity too that moms might have with their children. What is your favorite story to tell your 10-month-old, if you're in that phase right now?
Oh, I am in a phase of narrating everything that I'm doing as I'm doing it. He is very attentive. He just loves like sitting in the kitchen and watching me as I'm doing things. And so I don't know that there's one specific story. It's just narrating. I will walk through him on a very granular detail, like what I did that day, just because that's the easiest thing to draw from in my mind at the moment. I actually did this with a group of girlfriends a few weeks ago. We were all together catching up, and would recommend the exercise of sitting around the table from people that you know really well and have talked about everything under the sun with, and going through and describing your day-to-day routine in granular detail was very, very fun. And now I think throughout the day, as I'm getting on the train to go downtown to work, thinking about what my friend in Austin, Texas is doing at that moment, it's it's fun. You think you know that you know people really well, but you learn so much through just how they live their kind of day-to-day routine.
Speaking of learning about each other, we are going to move on and start with a lightning round of questions. Kate, are you ready to play with me?
Yes, let's do it.
What is your go-to song for a good cry?
It's funny you should ask. I wanted to cry the other day. I am unfortunately like Cameron Diaz in The Holiday, and tears do not come easily to me.
No way.
So I have listened to just about every Spotify playlist of songs to make you cry or songs to have a good cry to. I am a connoisseur of all of those playlists. I could not say that there's one that's really done it for me yet. The jury is still out.
Kate, I wanna stay here for a while, actually, just because I've never heard someone literally not compare themselves, but see themselves in Cameron Diaz's character in The Holiday. I guess no one I've met personally. I'm sure, there are other people out there who maybe find it a little bit more hard to cry or tear up, but I love that you are that person.
Want to so badly. And I did find myself the other day. New York is such a great place. Like the streets of New York, you can cry. That's the least alarming thing anyone will see in their day is, lady walking by, listening to a song, crying. So I try. It's on my list.
Okay.
Something to figure out.
And feel free to tell me if, feel free to answer or not. But when you gave birth, did you shed a tear? You did not.
No.
Oh my God, Kate. I love it.
It didn't mean I didn't feel anything.
Of course you felt something. I mean, that would be something more alarming if you did not feel anything, right? At all, I guess. Unless, if there are moms listening, if you had a C-section or something, or something else. But
actually, I will tell you the one thing that does make me cry. Maybe I should just go back and start watching replays. Random sporting events where you see a stranger accomplish their dream, where they pan to their family in the audience. That occasionally does get me choked up. Mm-hmm. I could be watching the World Series of fencing. That's probably not an event, but if you see someone accomplish their dream, that's what gets me.
That gets me too. Okay, we're staying in the self-care on this topic, but is there a holy grail self-care item in your bag? You don't need to mention the brand, but what is one item that you feel like you...
I wish I had a good what's in my bag answer. Right now, you know what it is? It's snacks. Oftentimes they're not even for me. But for instance, I travel a lot for work. When I'm with an executive, we'll be going from meeting to meeting all day. Uh-huh. And you can just see the energy is crumbling. And with it, people tend to get really hangry. Sometimes I just hand him a snack.
No way.
Don't even say anything. Just hand him a bar. He eats it. Much better too.
Oh my gosh.
Same thing with my husband. So I have emergency snacks, generally for others, but
handing over a snack is, I think, clutch for some, if not a lot of people. Because I do, I love eating as a thing that is obviously a luxury in some instances, because I love trying out restaurants. I love trying out new kinds of food, but also to get me to give that reset during a very stressful day, snacking does help. So it's a pro tip. Thanks, Kate. Is there like a specific snack at all?
Flavor of the day? No.
Flavor of the day. Okay, awesome. Who is your favorite actor and what is your favorite role of theirs?
I've actually never been asked this question before.
I love that we're the first one to ask you this.
Who is my favorite actor? I did recently watch The Black Box, which I think is a new-ish movie. Let's say was released sometime in 2025 with Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. And I loved the dialogue in that movie. I thought it was really smart and well written.
That movie was so good. I'm constantly impressed with like amazing actors and actresses. Like, to me, it's like, I feel like there are people who really put their whole lives into learning how to be good at their craft, but there are others who are just so, I feel like, innately when they were born.
You can tell they're doing what they were born to do.
Yep, exactly.
I think especially with actors and actresses who have really honed their craft in movies like Black Box, where the dialogue is just so dialed in, to tie it back to comms and working with executives and spokespeople who really have to nail their messaging, I think gives you such a deeper appreciation for actors and actresses who can really I take a script and own it in the way that they do. But I think to me, the movies that I'm really drawn to, I'm more so drawn to the dialogue. I like really, really smart conversation, almost where I need to turn on the subtitles or rewind a couple times to be like, what did they just say? And I think when you work with spokespeople on the comm side and you're working through messaging, it just gives you that much more deeper appreciation for actors who are able to come in and absolutely nail a really complicated dialogue.
Earlier, actually, we talked a lot about optimism. Who is the most optimistic person you know? And what do you admire about them?
I'll deflect a little bit on this one and not give any specific shout outs. I will say that is one thing that drew me to working in climate and energy in the first place. I think it's a much smaller community than people realize. I love going to the COP conferences, to climate weeks, and touching base with my peers. I think the climate community itself is a much more optimistic community than people would probably realize from the outside.
I agree. We've met so many climate professionals, or whether they're storytellers, whether they run their own organizations or companies, and maybe there is that like from the outside looking in, it seems like they're not the most optimistic people because we are presenting, we have to talk about the problem. But that's not really the case when, behind closed doors and when there's like strategy meetings and like these conferences, as you mentioned, like in-person events, climate people are actually more optimistic than you would think.
They are. This is a sports quote. It's actually the background to my phone right now. It just really resonates with me. But climate people are in the business of the relentless pursuit of the smallest improvements. And I think that quote is so emblematic of working in this industry. Everyone wants big breakthroughs, of course, but I think the real progress as we're seeing happens in the really kind of unglamorous and messy middle. It's the tiny tweaks right now that I think are giving me a lot of hope, that we're seeing make the whole system work better, whether that's policy detail, that's unlocking scale, or just small, advancements in technology. And so climate people are the best people I know at having that daily discipline of not giving up on the small stuff.
Oh my gosh, I could not agree more.
And to bring it back to comms, I think comms is the same. You're always refining one clearer sentence, one more resonant example, one more accessible way to describe something complex. It's just, it's continuous in this craft.
Kate, I know we need to send you off because you have a flight to catch. And I was going to ask you if you had some go-to after-hours media lined up for your flight, but you are going to be with your 10-month-old?
It's called The Big Hungry Caterpillar. It's called
It's called whatever your son is into these days.
Fidget Spinner.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Although if you did have some downtime, what is your go-to after hours media? What have you been watching, listening to, or reading lately?
Camille, you're stumping me with the questions today.
Oh my gosh. I'm learning a lot from you, Kate. So honestly, I've been enjoying it.
In working with so many strong executives over the years, I think I got caught up or very interested in a lot of their routines. You know, a lot of people waking up at 4 a.m. and they meditate, and then they do Pilates, and then they sauna, and the list goes on, and it's very overwhelming. I am working with an executive right now who shared that at the end of his day, he likes to wind down with just a very lowbrow, easy to read book. And I felt like hearing him say that gave me permission to just read the really trashy book, probably with some grammatical errors in it.
Oh my gosh.
Really helps my brain shut down these days after juggling work and a 10-month-old and big old Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
It's not listening to crazy news podcasts.
Oh my gosh. I can so resonate with it. You use the word trashy. I am going to use that word too, but anything that can really like shut your brain off, yes. Like in a way where there's no way that work issues, work challenges, or your work life can seep into your brain.
No, you're just totally transported.
Oh my gosh. That is my kind of media, to be honest with you.
I fall asleep with my Kindle in my hands every single night.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kate, this has been amazing. I did, pick up just like nuggets of wisdom from you, because you're also a storyteller, you're in communication. So there's a lot of like sort of common environments that we live in, and you're a mom as well. But before we let you go, is there anything that you want to promote or share with our listeners? Anything big that's coming up for you or for Galvanize?
I will deflect again and say that I think it can be really hard to read the news today, especially if you're someone that works in the energy transition. And I think I will leave with a message of hope, which is I have a lot of hope now watching people who used to think that they had nothing to do with climate or energy suddenly start to see themselves as part of the solution. I had a really great conversation the other day with the president of a major utility talking about just small shifts they've made to help, bring people's energy bills down. And I think we are just now entering an era where people will start to feel the effects, positive and negative, of climate on their wallets. And to me, this is going to be the era where climate change really starts to hit home for people in a lot of ways, for better or for worse. But I have a lot of hope that people are now seeing themselves as part of the solution too, whether you're a teacher or an electrician or a mayor. The narrative has shifted, as we talked about earlier, from sacrifice to one of execution. And I think it's the best time to work in climate. I'm having the most fun I've ever had, even though there's volatility all around us in markets and policy and then in my day-to-day life, as you've heard here.
Kate, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks, Camille. Thank you so much for having me.